grew up on a Pennsylvania farm, which meant getting up with my dad at 5 a.m. to do chores. In the summers, it was hot, and in the winter, it was frigid cold. The last thing I wanted to do was to get out of bed. But I always did, and that's because my dad knew exactly what to say. Erin, do you want to help Dad today? So before I knew it, I was pulling on my boots and I was headed down to that cold, dark barn. The first thing my dad would do is turn on the lights, and then he'd walk over to the radio and make sure the oldie station was playing. He'd extend his arm out, and right then and there, we danced the jitterbug down the barn aisle. At 5:15 in the morning, before we fed any of the cattle or we touched a single bale of hay, we danced. And I can tell you nothing else mattered. That dance transformed the barn into something more, something that was mine and a place that I belonged. You know, we all need places where we feel safe, valued, and respected, places that are uniquely our own. My father understood this, and what he taught me, I put into practice developing my own teams. And what I learned is that a sense of belonging doesn't just happen. We have to create it, and we can create it anywhere people gather, including at work, where we spend so much of our waking lives. As leaders, we have a decision. We can create environments for people to thrive or push people out and away. Our world is in a crisis right now. We're more disconnected than ever before, yet we all have technology at our fingertips. The statistics are everywhere. The isolation and the young people that we've lost to loneliness is particularly heartbreaking. And one of those reasons is we've forgotten to create places for people to belong. We also need to stop designing organizations out of what we're going to get out of each other and start to build them for what people need most, which is to be a part of something. When you put belonging first, you give people what they really need to thrive. People also need places where everybody knows your name. By a show of hands, who remembers the old TV show Cheers? So everybody knew Norm. Everybody knew Norm's name, and everybody knew where Norm sat. Take a minute right now and think about those for you. Is that a gym? Maybe a coffee shop? Maybe it's a book club. Count them. If we're being honest, we probably have more places where we do anything but belong, where we go to because we have to. Maybe we're getting paid. Maybe it'd be a hassle if we didn't. Work, school, and sometimes even family. The cost of this is everywhere. People showing up, checking a box, kids that don't like school, and employees who give up caring. And that might be you. Early in my career, I had a job that looked amazing on paper. Impressive team, good salary, and the work was challenging, and I wanted that. I also had a boss that created chaos everywhere he went, and I mean everywhere he went. In fact, when I would walk into the office, I could feel the knots developing in my neck. I could feel the pit in my stomach. And about 8 months in, he asked me, well, actually, he demanded that I steal a competitor's strategy. I knew so clearly in that moment that I didn't belong there. So I told him no, and then he'd have my resignation by the end of the day. He stared at me. Erin, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go into real estate. And even though I had no prior experience, that's exactly what I did. And for the last 20 years, I sold real estate. But I've also built and developed teams where my team members know that their voice matters, that they're a part of something bigger than themselves, and that they truly belong. You see, the difference is some places are designed around tasks, while others are designed around people. My father understood this instinctively. That jitterbug in the barn aisle said, before you're productive, you're my daughter. Before you're useful, you're valuable, and you belong here. So, how do we create a sense of belonging anywhere, especially at work, where we spend so much of our lives? Well, it starts with moments that say, you matter. So on my team, it's all about team rituals. So we hit our team goals, our yearly goals, we're gonna go away on a trip, somewhere to Mexico or the Caribbean. It's team bonding at its finest. We also have weekly meetings where everybody has a voice. So it doesn't matter if you're my intern or my director of operations, everybody has a voice. We also have small moments woven throughout the work week that let each team member know that they're supported, that we have their back, and that they belong. Second, you need to create spaces around people, and I mean the whole person. There's so many schools and organizations that are all about extracting productivity. But what if we build it around the whole person instead? On my team, we acknowledge that people actually have lives outside of work. So when somebody's child is sick, we adjust. When somebody needs flexibility, we find it. And when somebody has an illness, we are there for them and we support them. You see, we find that when somebody can show up as their whole self, they give more of themselves to the work. Third, and this is crucial, you have to have collaboration. Belonging requires agency. People do not belong to places that take and take from them. They belong to places they help create. So this means asking your team members, what do you think? Or how do you think we can make this better? Fourth, and finally, we need to create spaces where people want to be. As a team lead, I have to ask myself, would my team members spend time together outside work hours if they didn't have to? That's the test. Do they linger? Are there deep-rooted friendships between them? If not, it's my responsibility to help create that. We need to invest in making physical spaces welcoming. We need to focus on relationships beyond the transactional, and this creates real opportunities for connection. We have to have fun. We have to weave in joy. It's not a byproduct or a nice to have. It's an essential part of belonging. I was 21 years old when my dad died. A deer went through the windshield on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. He died instantly. My mom, who I look just like, she was paralyzed and died a year later. The farm was sold. That radio, that barn, and those early morning hours, all of it gone. You grow up fast when you have to. What grief teaches you if you let it is that you can't hold on to places. They go, they disappear. They can be taken from you. But what you can hold on to is what people build together. I learned a lot from my father in those early morning hours. He built something, and it stays with me still. That knowledge about how you make people feel is the only thing you can control when everything else is out of your hand. Invite, don't demand, make space for joy in the middle of the hard work. It's not a luxury, and that's the point. I take everything he taught me into every team I build, every space I create, and every relationship I have. What he gave me, I can give to others, and that's what real belonging is. So in a world where we can't control most things, we can always create spaces for people to belong. So I ask you, take a look at the people that you work with and beside every single day. Do they know they belong? Not hope they do, not think they do. Do they really know it? If you're unsure, that's your answer. You have to realize you're building the spaces where these people choose to spend their working lives. What you do with that is up to you. Every ritual you build or don't build, every question you ask or don't ask. My advice is to start small, with one ask, one invitation, one moment this week that welcomes them in and says clearly, you belong here too. Because the difference between a team that can survive hard times and one that can't isn't strategy, talent, or market conditions. It's whether they know they belong. So, get the work done, but don't forget to dance. Thank you.